What actually ended up happening is you shot me a photo of him and you're like, dude, read this post. He'd made an insane transformation. I would say like probably in the ballpark of 15 to 20 kilos of additional
definitely
muscle mass.
20. I reckon like 60 to 85.
Voice
Completely changed. Like his voice dropped.
so much facial hair, and we're like, what the f? One of the symptoms of hypogonadism is a micropenis. So you're laughing now, but it's actually a medical condition. Yeah, I think maybe a few people out there, it's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go inject testosterone, my dick's gonna grow. You might just have like a tiny penis. I don't think you'll be able to fix that.
Oh, Ron? Oh, look at that timing. That was ridiculous. Sorry, bro. Welcome back.
All right, Project, welcome back. We've got an exciting episode today talking about a subject that I feel doesn't get the attention it deserves on our show in particular, but it gets rinsed to death potentially on YouTube. Thought we'd share our perspective because talking about low testosterone, right, and the signs and symptoms of low testosterone, it was a taboo subject, but it's becoming more normalized to talk about because as we'll get into it with the signs and the symptoms that come with low testosterone or hypogonadism, which is sort of the condition of low testosterone, which is more of a medical condition, but you can get low T through your lifestyle as well. It's they seriously affect mostly men's health and women's health as well. So we're going to get into kind of the signs and symptoms to look out for. I think if you're a guy listening to this and something resonates with you, it's worth taking the advice that we'll share at the end of the show, which is going to be talking about the things you can do to fix low testosterone, and it's not injecting testosterone. Yep. That'd be the easy way out. So
Everyone's probably going to go through a period in their life where they get affected by this.
100%. I think it's not normal to never experience it, right? Especially once you go and have kids, right? That's probably the period of your life where you experience it the least of that. But that is the biological mechanisms of evolution kicking in to lower your testosterone for a variety of reasons. Probably won't get into that into this show, but yeah, we can touch on it. So best place to start here, I reckon, is going to be talking about what is testosterone, because I reckon a lot of people listening to this, they kind of know what it is, but like actually defining what it is can be helpful to understand. So it is a hormone produced by the male testes and to a lesser extent by the adrenal glands. And so in men, testosterone is responsible for the development of sexual characteristics such as deep voice, body, hair, muscle mass. And that's what they call like the androgenic effects. So the androgenic effects of testosterone are the deepening of the voice, are the increase in muscle mass, is the increase in body hair, right? Which are all generally things that women don't want, which is why women, when they inject testosterone,
don't want on themselves.
Yeah, they exactly. They get those things, right? That's how you know that a woman has started using anabolics or male testosterone derivatives, because and I'm going to get this wrong, but things like Tren and Deca, they are derivatives of testosterone, so modifications to the testosterone molecule, which kind of enhance certain parts of what testosterone gives you. And in women, testosterone is produced by the ovaries and the adrenal glands and plays a role in regulating sex drive and maintaining bone density. So let's start. I actually want to share a story with a serious medical case of hypogonadism. He definitely used to listen to the show. I'd say it'd be a stretch to say he still listens to it, but we won't name him. There was a trainer once upon a time in our very first gyms. He worked at a gym nearby our gym, and I think he definitely did some training sessions with us. And then I want to say we were thinking about hiring him potentially, but we didn't end up hiring. That's kind of the story. What actually ended up happening is he was young at the time. So I think maybe when we were hiring him, like 20, 21, he looked like a 20, 21, had a little beard, decent shape, that sort of thing. But he had a kind of a high voice for his age, and he never really seemed to mature or gain weight. And he would always ask us questions about gaining weight and eating calories. And we said, you just got to eat more, you got to eat more. And he tried and nothing worked. And then a couple years passed.
He didn't look like a personal trainer.
No.
He looked more like the personal trainer's client.
He looked like a wicket keeper.
Yeah.
In cricket, yeah, with a little beard. A couple years passed, then I think one day you shot me a photo of him on Instagram, and you're like, dude, read this post. And what had happened was he'd made an insane transformation. I would say like probably in the ballpark of 15 to 20 kilos of additional muscle mass.
20. I reckon like 60 to 85.
Voice completely changed. Like his voice dropped, so much facial hair, and we're like, what the fuck? So he ends up writing this post, and he's explaining like I had hypogonadism. Basically, he said I had no sex drive at all, like no sexual desire, poor mood, could not put on muscle mass, lacked the voice, the facial hair, all those things. And then he's gone on to tell us that he's got this condition called hypogonadism. He started taking testosterone. I want to say it was testosterone cream. I don't even think it was the injections, and it like completely transformed his life. And actually, funnily enough, one of the symptoms of hypogonadism is a micropenis, which is actually, you're laughing now, but it's actually a medical condition, the micropenis. It's like 1 to 2 inches. And it happens because if you have hypogonadism, which is like a dysfunction of the testicles, where they don't produce enough testosterone during puberty, your sexual organs actually don't grow. But the good news is if you do have that condition and you take testosterone, like it just grows in adulthood, because like whatever the pathways that are lacking, the receptor sites are still there. And if you, if you put the hormones in the right places, then everything starts to mature properly. And that's what happened to him, which is like crazy turnaround. Yeah, I think maybe a few people out there, it's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go inject testosterone, my dick's going to grow. Well, if you just matured naturally, normally, and everything's good, you might just have like a tiny penis. And I don't think you'll be able to fix that, unfortunately, but it's worth trying. But yeah, if you definitely have hypogonadism and you can look at the symptoms of that, then it's probably worth going to a doctor and getting a check. It's pretty rare though. Maybe Connor, you can pull up like how many people actually get hypogonadism. But anyway, the symptoms of low testosterone, because I think that's what most of us have, right? Lifestyle-based low testosterone. So it can happen for heaps of reasons. I reckon when we get into the solutions, we're probably going to uncover the causes.
4 to 5 million people have it. That's very few.
In the US, okay.
Yeah, because they have, whatever, 400... No, how many men? Probably 250 million men.
But yeah, hypogonadism is low testosterone. But the actual condition I'm talking about, where you get the micropenis, I'm not sure.
Well, that would be only if you had it during puberty.
Yeah, but I actually think it's like a dysfunction. Like I think this hypogonadism is happening because of lifestyle conditions, because that's why it says older males. But the other one might be called something different because it happens when you shouldn't. Like it's expected when you're an older male to get it, right? Anyway, so signs and symptoms, you may have it. Now, guys, pay attention here, because if this is you, if you're kind of ticking, I think if you're maybe 1 or 2 of these, it's probably not. But if you're ticking like out of the 7 here, you're ticking 3, 4, you could be having low testosterone. So first one, I think is probably the biggest sign, is like decreased sex drive.
Yep.
It's not no sex drive. I think it's just a decrease in your sex drive. Now, as you get older, if you've been in a relationship for a while, pretty common to have a lower sex drive. But I think it should feel a dramatic shift. It should feel like, wow, I have actually no sexual desire. And if it does come, it's very sporadic. Maybe once a month you feel like having sex, that'd be pretty low. But like, yeah, day to day, you should have like a decent libido, right? Like the normal things that would turn a guy on should be turning you on. But if there is nothing, like you're like, man, I used to look at girls in fucking skirts and their legs, and I used to love going to the beach, and now it just doesn't bother me at all. I would say that's like sort of an issue here. The hard part here, and I've had this discussion with guys kind of offline, a fair few people, I think like the desire to have sex with your partner is like so deeply interwoven that I wouldn't use that as the point of indication of low sex drive. I would look at all the other things outside your relationship, because relationships are so, psychologically, spiritually, physically complicated. I wouldn't use that as the indicator necessarily. I would use it as the stuff that you find is related to sex drive outside of your relationship. I think that's the best place to look, just because it's kind of always there for most guys. If you see a decrease in that stuff outside the relationship, that's when I would say you'd probably get the issue. Comments on that one?
No, I think though that with this stuff as well is that because it happens slowly, it's not like it is a dramatic shift, but it's not like, wow, compared to last week, it's so much less this week. So I think because when I've had this before, it's almost like you, because it happens slowly, well, it can happen slowly, you like don't really notice it. And it's only in the comparison to like a year ago, you're like, wow, I guess that is a fucking big difference. I think you actually notice it more when it comes back. Right. Because it can come back really fast. Often. And then you go, fuck, this is really different to how it was a month ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, second one, this was an easy one to pick out for you. This is erectile dysfunction. So I'd say like achieving or maintaining an erection is definitely part of it. But also in the morning when your testosterone is highest, morning wood. Yeah. If you just don't, look, I would say healthy is like you got to go 5 out of 7 days. You got to have morning wood. If you don't, then I would say that, it's probably starting to be a little bit of an issue here. You should probably get that checked. And I've spoken to a lot of men. Obviously, a lot of our clients and stuff always seems to come up because it's it's an important topic as an indicator of testosterone. Everyone can remember it. It either happened this morning or it didn't. It's been happening or it hasn't been. And like guys in their 50s, like it's pretty normal. They get it like most days as well. So I think if you're a young guy as well, you're in your 30s, in your 20s. even in your 40s, and you just don't get it at all, that's like a serious issue that you'd be getting checked. So third one here, fatigue and decreased energy levels. Now, this one can be tough because if you're doing a lot of hard training, obviously you're going to be fatigued and you're going to have lower energy levels. So you have to take that into consideration. I think like a really good example of this was like when we were doing hard CrossFit training, I would say like, yeah, energy levels were down, fatigue was extremely high, testosterone was probably lower, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, how can your body function if you're just like constantly breaking it down? So it's contextual, right? In some scenarios. I think this point number 3, fatigue and decreased energy levels, there's not an obvious reason why you should be fatigued and have lower energy levels. This is obviously going to be a part of it.
Yeah, and it's also what you said at the start. It's like if you just had 3, you obviously don't have low testosterone. But when you start adding these up and you're like, I have like most of these, it's a problem.
Absolutely, yeah. Because yeah, as you know, so many things can affect energy levels. Yes. Nutrition being a huge one of them, sleep being another huge one of them. Obviously, this all ties together, right? Testosterone is involved in all these pathways. If you're training a lot, if you're not sleeping enough, it's going to lower testosterone. We know that. So yeah, consider these things as they stack up. So number 4, and I would say that this one would be one of the more unique ones to testosterone itself, and that would be a loss of muscle mass and strength. Because if you are training hard and eating well and getting enough sleep and you're losing muscle mass and strength, yes, it could be overtraining, but yeah, definitely a sign of low testosterone or some kind of dysfunction, dysregulation in testosterone. Because it's such an important role in maintaining muscle mass. If you're losing muscle and you're doing everything right from a nutrition and a training standpoint and a sleep standpoint, there's probably some serious issues.
Yeah, and also it doesn't even take much to maintain muscle mass.
Nothing.
So like,
Been
you
maintaining
know,
it for like 5 years.
if you're only, even if you were training twice a week, you shouldn't really be expecting to lose much.
No.
Unless you came, you know, from a huge size or something.
If I would say like maintenance versus progress is a 10 out of 10 effort, a 9 to 10 out of 10 effort. Maintenance is probably a like 2 to 3 out of 10 effort if you were to really bring it down. I think most people sit somewhere between like 7 and 8.
Yeah.
They go through periods where they make a little bit of progress and then they mostly maintain, a little bit of progress, mostly maintain. But the longer you've been doing it, it's easier. The easier it is to maintain muscle mass, but the harder it is to make progress.
Yeah.
So next one is increased body fat. If you get a shift in your testosterone in a negative way, your body composition is going to get worse, right? You lose a little bit of muscle mass, you gain a little bit of body fat. And that's like, it's mostly around the abdomen, but it's like, it's fairly common, right? As guys' testosterone drop, their body just gets in worse condition. You see it all the time.
It's also a chicken and the egg because I know that gaining a lot of body fat also reduces your testosterone.
Can, yes.
Yeah, so if you just get really fat, that's also not going to be good.
Yeah. If you're gaining muscle and fat, yeah, it's okay. But yeah, once you start pushing over like 16, 17% body fat,
it's not ideal for you.
Definitely not. But man, you look at some of those guys in the Super Bowl yesterday, like,
yeah, they got some high body fat.
Yeah, they got some high body fat. They got high tests.
They are the outliers.
Yeah. Okay, so number 6 here, depression and mood changes. It's a big one, right? Because again, lots of factors involved in this particular symptom. However, we do know that low testosterone is highly correlated to feelings of low testosterone, highly correlated to feelings of sadness, irritability, depression, poor mood. So it's not uncommon to hear people that go on testosterone replacement therapy to go, man, I just feel way better. I just feel more energized. In fact, one of my friends who's a bit younger, how old is he now? 33, 34. He was hoping that he didn't have low testosterone, had a lot of these signs and symptoms, went on testosterone replacement therapy through a doctor. And he said that was the first thing that he noticed a difference in. He goes, I just woke up every day and I just felt better about life.
Yeah.
He goes, I couldn't put my finger on exactly what it was. He goes, I was still training hard. I was still in the gym because he was in the gym training. He puts up insane numbers on the barbell, sleeps really well, eats perfect. And he's like, I had no sex drive at all. Like no morning wood. And he goes, I just didn't have any vitality. I just wasn't excited to wake up every day. And he goes, when that changed, he goes, when I started injecting it, he goes, fuck, man, I felt like I was reborn. I was like, wow, it must have been fucking low. He said it was pretty low. So that is definitely one thing that people that go on it, they notice that shift, which is to what your point earlier is. I think these sorts of things, the feelings of sadness, irritability, because you've always had them, but for reason, in the right context, when they start to slowly come on and it kind of just takes over your baseline, it's just hard to know exactly, right? Until, again, you get that contrast where you might go on replacement therapy and you're like, holy shit, I can't believe I've been like this for so long. And we know as well, any athlete that's received a lot of traumatic brain injury, TBI, that affects testosterone production, signaling to the brain how their mood is. They don't produce testosterone the same. A lot of them go on TRT and that makes them feel a lot better. So that's obviously a big part of it as well. So number 7 is decreased bone density. This is probably only one you would know if you're getting blood work and you're also getting DEXA scans, so you can see your bone density. And yeah, bone density really shouldn't be dropping at all if you're weight training for most of your life. You're not going to see any signs of osteoporosis if you're weight training till you're like in your 70s, in your 80s. So yeah, as long as you're weight training, weight bearing, your bone should stay healthy. So anyway, there's 7 things. There's 7 signs. I'll just run through them quickly. So you've got your decreased sex drive, erectile dysfunction, fatigue and decreased energy levels, loss of muscle mass and strength, increased body fat, depression and mood changes, decreased bone density. If you got all 7 of those things, like get the fucking needle right now and fix that shit. It's bad. I don't know if that's apparent to those listening, but it's bad if you've got these 7 things. Like you need a solution to it.
Even 3 or 4.
Yeah. I would want any of those.
Yeah, you don't want any of them, right? But like it's going to be times in your life where you may have 1, you may have 2. But if you have 3 to 4 of these, there's definitely some lifestyle changes you can make.
Okay, so after you, because is it when you had your first child that you got this the most?
Yeah, and I also think when we're training really hard for CrossFit.
Yes, that.
I can definitely
that.
On par. Just that it was kind of different because you were training so much. It was a little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. And I could easily, you could basically point, I could point to all 7 of them both times, just in certain amounts.
Even when we were training hard CrossFit, increase in body fat.
Actually, no, that's not true. Definitely not an increase in body fat.
Yeah,
I was very lean. I think because I was training so much, so I didn't lose muscle mass and strength. I didn't increase body fat. And I can't really say I had any erectile dysfunction, but every other one. And then I guess with the child, and I guess you'd include. It's hard to know because I wasn't training as much as well. So like it all plays into it. But I think the biggest ones is decreased sex drive, fatigue, and decreased levels. Potentially depression and mood changes. You notice them the most. Whereas things like the muscle mass and strength and body fat, it's very intertwined with like what I'm eating and how I'm training. So it's a little bit more difficult to tell.
But that's the science of the dad bod, right? Your body lowers your testosterone after a child for a period of time so that you become more of a protector and you're not out hunting. It keeps you more, I guess, turns you more into a family unit. That's essentially what happens, right? What is the chemical it releases? Is it progesterone or something?
No, I think oxytocin is when you're with the child, skin to skin.
No, what's the one that I thought there was like some change in your hormone profile as a man that increases your body fat and like I know it's a lowering in testosterone.
Well, I think when I looked at it, it was a lowering of testosterone of about 45% to 25%.
In what period? The first.
It's not for that long.
Something?
It almost happens straight away.
Yeah.
As soon as you start, and the more time you spend skin to skin with the baby, the more it comes on. And it actually doesn't matter if it's your child or not.
Interesting.
So if you start, if you were the uncle, but you started spending like you were the main carer, you get a lot of it. Whereas if you're the dad, but you spend like no time with the kid and you're off to work, it basically makes no difference.
Oh, okay. So it only happens if you're skin to skin with the child.
Yeah, that's what kicks it off. So if you just got a girl pregnant and you had a kid on the other side of the planet, it's not gonna make any difference.
Yeah, okay.
It's to do with like...
I thought it was. I'm like, you're fucking...
No. Your body doesn't know what happens to your
semen. Imagine just on a Euro trip with the boys and all of a sudden you just got a dad bod halfway through. It's like, man, I think it was that girl from Colombia.
No, so it's basically that. So then basically as the kid gets older and you stop doing all those activities because it's just an older kid, you're not sitting there cuddling all the time, it just goes away.
Got it. Okay.
Plus, honestly, it's also the sleep loss as well.
Yeah, that's a big part of it, of course, yeah. Well, 2 nights sleep deprived, and sleep deprivation in the research is defined as less than 7 hours. So 2 nights in a row at 6 hours sleep, half your testosterone.
Yeah, so maybe that's most of the gains.
Yeah, that's the answer right there, which is why I want to get into solutions. So we've got our top 5 solutions. And the thing is, very likely you're not doing all 5 of these perfectly. So if you just touch and tap into the ones that is the low-hanging fruit for you here, you're probably going to solve most of these issues. And I think really the problem is, like we're going to read the solutions, people are doing 2 or 3 of them really well. So they're like, there's no way I could have low test. But it's the combination, it's doing any of these poorly that really... Testosterone is very sensitive, I guess the point I'm making, right? Like think about the sleep thing I just said, right? Half.
Yeah, it's very
You think
sensitive.
you'd be more resilient than that, but it's really not true. So your testosterone is very sensitive in guys. So first one is to stop alcohol. There's plenty of research now. Huberman's been a big advocate for no drinking, but alcohol correlates very tightly with low testosterone. The more you drink, the more it's going to crush your testosterone just because it's a poison, right? There's no getting around it. It's damaging your body. Your body's having to fight off to extract the alcohol out of your system. That whole cascaded process, as a result, one of the symptoms is it's just going to lower your testosterone. So maybe don't stop alcohol 100%, but reducing your alcohol significantly. I think a good guide for alcohol is like 3 or less drinks a week. if you were to average it out over the whole year. If you're someone who's like, I always want to do some drinking, I think if you can manage that, if you're optimizing for testosterone, that's generally, I think, a pretty safe zone. You can enjoy it, 3 drinks on a night with someone else, 1 drink a night, 3 nights on the week. I think you should be fine. Number 2 is reduce cardio. Very common. People that overdo cardio lowers. I'm not sure what the mechanism is with cardio. I'm sure we could maybe have a look at it, pull it up at another point, but increasing your cardio, aerobic work, does lower testosterone. Again, I'm not sure what the mechanism is, but there's been infinite anecdotes I could tell you from ourselves, from people that I know, from other podcasts that I listen to, marathon runners. They all have lower testosterone. That's one.
And I'd say even with the cardio, definitely as well, it's obviously the chronic amounts of it. So the more can be worse if you're doing an hour, 2 hours a day. Also can be, I think, very high intensity cardio can have the effect when you like absolutely obliterate yourself like we did during CrossFit multiple times a week. Even though the whole time duration of cardio maybe wasn't that significant, the intensity was just through the roof.
Yeah, it's pretty common people that are like overdo it in cardio. Here we go. High volume endurance exercise will reduce testosterone levels by 20 to 40%. This finding is also present in women who participate in high volume endurance activities and have subsequent menstrual irregularities. So it's not just cardio, it's too much cardio, which is pretty easy for people to overdo. I think the recommendation for cardio, I know Huberman likes 150 minutes a week of zone 2, which is heart rate between kind of like 140 and 160. It's like talking pace cardio. I mean, think about that high intensity stuff. Most of the experts in the world say you want to touch that. Is it zone 5 or zone 4, the top zone, heart rate over like 90%. They say you want to touch it max once every 2 weeks. And CrossFitters are doing it every day. Yeah. Group fitness is doing it every single day. It's going to crush your testosterone.
I'd also keep in mind, it's so easy to like look at the exceptions. The people that tolerate it really well clearly don't have any of these signs and symptoms, but there's just a huge variety in how resilient people are to this. And there's going to be outliers that can do a ton of cardio and their hormones are untouched.
Of course.
Or maybe they naturally had extremely high testosterone to begin with, and it's very resilient, so it only brings them down to like above average levels.
Well, I know, so it was on Nick Bear's Performance podcast. He was interviewing America's, I think, national champion in the marathon, and national champion like 4 years in a row. Yeah. So it's like best marathon runner in the US. Obviously on a world scale, it's pretty far down. But he had to quit marathon running because his testosterone was so low. Wow. And it was so low that the doctors were like, we need like a medical intervention here. Like, you're losing bone mass. Your heart is at risk here. Like, he was losing muscle mass every day. It's like you're just leaking calcium out of your bones into your system. Like, you're gonna break a bone out of here. And he's like, I just couldn't continue. My body just couldn't do it anymore. And obviously, if he was to inject testosterone, which he had to start doing, he would be banned from the sport. Right? He'd be cheating. So really, he should have just had a better doctor to help him get around the testing. But he wanted to sleep well at night, live with himself. So yeah, he had to quit marathon running. So reducing cardio, again, I think, a good amount is, if you go for 2 30-minute runs in a week or an hour bike or something, like, it's a good amount of cardio, to be healthy. Third one is increase weights. Like, some people aren't doing any weights, or maybe they're just doing some light weights in a cardio circuit or whatever. I mean, like, just a pure weight session, right? Like a bodybuilding session. Like, just not weights that's going to crush you, but just a good amount of volume, well-structured strength program. Something you should take, somewhere between like 35 to 45 minutes and just in and out. So just adding in a couple of those sessions a day, we know is good for testosterone. And next point here is sleep. Sleep's obviously a huge one. 7 to 8 hours, right? Too much sleep, you're overdoing it. I don't know how testosterone correlates to oversleeping, but you feel like shit when you oversleep anyway. But definitely undersleeping, which for most people is 8 hours in bed.
Yeah, and this would include all the activities that positively and negatively influence your sleep. So it include like late night caffeine is not going to be good, right? Because it's going to reduce testosterone through reducing your sleep. Yeah, getting morning sunlight, I don't think that directly increases testosterone, but it improves your sleep. Yeah. So there's so many things here that just will go into test by changing your sleep.
Absolutely, yeah. Sleep's the big one here. I think if you fix the sleep, most people would be feeling a ton better.
Oh yeah.
And then the last one here is we got nutrition. Now, nutrition's a complicated one. Obviously, there's a lot of things you can do wrong with nutrition and still have fine testosterone. There's a lot of things you can do right with nutrition and have terrible testosterone. But we do know there are some things within nutrition that really help testosterone now, and that's been proven when we've done the research on them. So first one we got is zinc. So zinc is probably the most essential component for testosterone production. Foods that you can find it in: oysters, beef, poultry, ZMA.
Yeah.
Supplement.
I mean, what you say is that pretty much 90% of test boosters in a store is ZMA.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And
Yeah.
most of the things coming through the zinc.
Absolutely. Vitamin D is the next one. You can get these through food: salmons, eggs, mushrooms. You can stand in the sun. You can take vitamin D pills. There are lots of ways you can do it. I would definitely recommend the sun way is probably the most effective way. Healthy fats is a huge part of...
I'll just add on the vitamin D because I had this experience recently. I definitely think getting your numbers checked can be good as well. Because I was
you had low vitamin D, right?
I had low vitamin D, but I was just the person. I was like, oh, there's no way it's low.
Why would you say that?
Just because I was in the sun a lot. I was like, oh, dude, I ride my bike. I just enjoy being out. I often wear singlets and whatever. It's just, I don't think that would be me. I'm not the indoors type. And I have had low vitamin D once before when I lived in Amsterdam.
I'm surprised that is it because you're half black?
Yeah, darker skin is
it's really hard. Yeah,
it makes it much harder. So darker skin is one of the biggest. It's like why the black people died of COVID in America, because black people in New York just get obliterated with low vitamin D.
I did hear that. And that was Rhonda Patrick. Well, I don't know if that was proven.
No, but the low vitamin D is definitely proven. Yeah, because
yeah.
obviously you're just used to getting sun, in the Sahara.
Yeah.
Whereas white people, the whiter you are, the easier it is to get vitamin D. So if you have darker skin at all, or you just spend a lot of time indoors, it's a fairly cheap test. I think it'd be free if your doctor gives you the referral.
Yeah.
And that's a simple way to do it.
Well, it's interesting because, we both have pretty dark skin, but because my heritage is Asian and yours is African, it's I don't ever have a vitamin D issue.
Yeah, different amounts of melanin in the skin.
Yeah, but you wouldn't tell from the shade of your skin. No. It's you'd have to kind of go into your heritage. So if you do have African genetics, you're going to have a way harder time absorbing vitamin D. Which makes sense, right? So we've got healthy fats. Obviously, monounsaturated, polyunsaturated fats. These are components, building blocks for hormones. So you absolutely need fats, which is why one of the most destructive things that you can do for your health is not eat enough fat. So I think some people get under 60 grams of fat or 40 grams of fat. They get a ton of health issues, right? Because their body cannot structurally produce hormones. So anything that contains good fats, meats, avocado, nuts, olive oil, all that sort of stuff is really good. Number 4, we've got protein, obviously huge component for just building muscle mass, and that obviously positively affects testosterone levels. And then number 5, bit of a different one here, but we've got ashwagandha as a herbal supplement, can in some studies show increases in testosterone. Probably the last thing I'd go for there, but for anyone that just kind of wanted something a little bit different, maybe they've ticked all 4 and they want, I'll try ashwagandha. It's worth trying as well. So a lot of stuff in there. I think if you're getting any of those signs and symptoms, that's probably the first place to start, is go to signs and symptoms, be realistic about yourself, have an honest conversation with yourself, because the quality of your life can increase pretty dramatically if you are low test. And there's also there's just so many different scenarios of people that have low testosterone that you wouldn't necessarily be able to point about it. The friend I talked about earlier, he's strong as fuck. He was getting stronger. He has plenty of muscle mass. He's got a good body fat percentage. He's young. And he just didn't have, he's just I think there was something wrong with me. I just wasn't excited about life. I just had a low sex drive. I thought it was maybe the relationship I was in. Maybe that's why I was depressed about it. He wasn't in a great relationship at the time, but it was a low testosterone issue. So if you're unsure, go get your levels checked, right? Go to the doctors, read off some of these symptoms. Say, I might have low testosterone. I would love to get it checked, and then go get that thing checked. Get the blood work done. And remember, you got to go get it done fasted in the morning. That's how it works. Because I know some of you are ordering maybe the blood tests and you're getting them at weird times, maybe not under doctor's orders. It should be done in the morning fasted. That's the best time to test testosterone levels. Because if you do it late in the day at night, it's going to show pretty low as it goes down through the day. So just something to consider. As always, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the episode. If you enjoyed it, all you need to do is just share it with a friend, tell someone about it. And if you're watching this episode, make sure you go down below, leave us a comment and subscribe to the channel. Thanks, guys.